Welcome to Viewers' Mistakes number 16. I'll let you watch this clip first. What are vehicles in lane 3 going to do after the lorry? There's a few bits to work through with this clip. The first question I'd like to ask about this clip is, how was my viewer in lane 1 with the lorry being in lane 2? Has my viewer just joined and has the lorry driver moved out to accommodate? Well, if so, my viewer should have held back and tucked in behind the lorry, and ironically, that would have fixed all of this problem. The gap is growing between the lorry and the black car in front. There's a chance to get out, but the van driver in lane 3 sees lane 2 clear. They should be moving back, and they are. You can see their signals on. Another factor in this near miss is the distance that both my viewer and the van driver moved to lane 2 in relation to the lorry. They both cut in front too close, and this doesn't give either enough time to spot the other one before they move. The van driver could probably see my viewer at this point now, but another car length further forward and they become invisible. Luckily enough, both spot the other one before there's a collision. And at this particular point, the van driver cannot see my viewer. Was there a horn used, and was that why the van driver took a different evasive action? If I was in the same position as the van, I would have been checking to make sure there was no one coming out in the same way my viewer did. And combine that with coming back into lane 2 a little close to the lorry, the van driver gets a B. My viewer's impatience not to drop back and tuck in behind the lorry so they could see and be seen was the main cause of this issue. If they hadn't have undertook, the van driver would have been perfectly fine doing what they did. My viewer gets a D. I also think they cut in front of the red Citroen behind a bit.
Aston Martin Vantage 2016, a cracking motor. That's a hell of a dent, isn't it? It's a shame. A little bit further down in this car vertical report, it does show that this vehicle has unfortunately been marked as scrap, but it shows you the importance of checking a car out before you do purchase. This collision happened in August in 2020 and it was marked as a category B, which means that car was unrepairable. No wonder it was sent to scrap. Checking a car out before you make that purchase is really important, and there's no better place to use than Car Vertical. Remember, use the code Ashley and you can save yourself 20%. The links are always in the description. Car Vertical are always improving the service that they provide, and there's a little extra that I'd just like to point out with these reports. So after you use the link in the description or the code Ashley to save yourself 20%, what do you do next? Let's have a little look. So it does say here, get a professional inspection. It's a great idea. Check if the mileage matches, and that's a good shout. There's also another thing that I did when I purchased this Volvo. I had a look at the V5 and made sure the VIN number matched with that of the one on the car. The further tips go on to say about asking for service records. Check them out and make sure they do match with the car. And also take the car on a real test drive. Test it out. Check it on all different types of roads, speeds and surfaces. And the last piece of advice is to compare with similar cars. This makes sure you are getting good value for money. Thanks a lot, Car Vertical.
Without question, the blame does lie with the driver of the Land Rover. But what could my viewer have done differently? Let's have a look at the damage first. That's quite a significant dent on my viewer's Ford People Carrier. My viewer's speed was too fast to take in all the information required. By the time they spotted this Land Rover, it was too late. If my viewer had approached in the car park at half the speed, it would have given them more time to spot things. However, it is really difficult to pick up whether this vehicle does have reverse lights on. You can spot the movement, but unfortunately my viewer is just that little bit too fast to spot it and still be able to stop beforehand. My viewer could have done a little bit better and gets a B, but the Land Rover driver could have done a lot better. They get a D. You must take much more care before you reverse. Let's have a look through this clip first. Let's see how early you spot the danger.
I had 3 brakes in there. It's changed a lot now, I think, to when I used to drive.
They're all coming off, aren't they?
Just coming
Yeah.
off. That used to be me.
Yeah. Great. Whoa! Ah!
Okay,
Oh.
go.
If you listen to the conversation, it sounds as though the male in the car used to be a lorry driver and the female is the one driving.
Do 9 hours, and I think 2 or 3 times you can do 15, but you've got to have 3 breaks in there. It's changed a lot now, I think, to when I used to drive.
They're all coming off, aren't they?
Just coming
Yeah.
So the driver's already spotted the potential danger and the passenger knows a lot about lorries. Why isn't this sorted? Without question, blame is on the lorry driver. However, the driver positions themselves in the worst possible spot not to be seen. And it's made even worse because it looks as though the lorry is from a different country and probably left-hand drive. Pocket of space sorts this easily.
That used to be me.
The driver should have maybe moved forward up to the back of this lorry, but with the vehicle in front braking, a better option would have been to drop back behind the lorry to the left. But they do absolutely nothing, and for this reason the camera car driver gets a C. But what the lorry driver does is much more dangerous and risky. They get an F.
Great. Whoa! Ah!
Notice the urgency from the male passenger to go and follow.
Okay,
Oh.
go.
We all make mistakes, and my viewer here on the motorcycle makes one. However, they do give us a great example of how to own it and deal with it properly. They still get a B though, for how fast they were going.
Really sorry about that.
There's a scratch for anybody, Lorry.
I think it's alright, but go out and have a look at yourself, man. I think I had to hit that bit here, so. Alright, thanks very much. Sorry about that.
Two absolute gents. Well played. Honestly, this clip is a little bit of a shame, because I think my viewer had this sus nicely. Try not to use your horn as a telling off.
Arrive at your destination.
What happens if it's a wedding or a funeral? I mean, where are people
Arriving
going
at
to
your
park?
destination on the
That's
right.
the last thing you want, isn't it? Bother about that. Oh, couldn't you put it down? Stupid thing.
At the end of the day, the obstructions are on both sides of the road, so no one has priority, and the other driver coming from the other direction did arrive there first.
Well, he was going at blooming speed, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was doing over the limit.
Like I said, just be content with fixing it. Cognitive load increases massively when there's emergency service vehicles approaching. We've got no sound to this clip, so we can't tell exactly when it was heard. Let's watch through this first of all. Oops, that's through a red light also. I'm thinking the sirens mustn't have been very easily heard because there's a lot of people reacting here. Now the lights have changed, it makes this situation pretty awkward for my viewer, but they don't do a great job at telling the story. The vehicle in front clears, but my viewer delays. And it's this that I think makes the cyclist from the other direction think my viewer is staying put. And that's sometimes the best option in situations like this. Although you may be blocking a crossing area, the people can maybe wait till the next cycle of lights. Just like this Nissan here on the left. It's understandable why the cyclist thought they could start clearing the junction, and in the end held back well and accommodated. My viewer's mistake wasn't a big one. They get a C, but it shows you just how much cognitive load can be affected with emergency services. And to finish,
Where my mouth is, and if it ever grows and I ever get a return on the investment, that's super cool. But I'm basically just kissing this away, and
Alright.
we'll see what happens. If it doesn't take off, then at the very least,
You're okay.
I put my money where my mouth is, and I
Valuable
show
lesson.
that I
It's okay.
believe with real concrete,
You alright?
like
Yeah,
money
it's fine,
in
don't
my
worry.
pocket. I showed that I believed in the mission. I'm super proud of them. They are doing incredible. And since we're
at the end of the day, my viewer potentially saved that child's life. However, they were a little fast. Slightly different timings, and that could have been different. Keep safe, everyone. I'll see you soon.